What is going on, everyone? Chris Vincelli here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the YouTube channel that discusses personal development, finances, and everyday life experiences. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing the age-old question of whether you should own your home or to rent it. To buy the place that you want to live in or to rent? I think it's a question that most, if not all people come across at a certain point in their lives. I know it's a question that I faced myself on numerous occasions. So in this video, I'm gonna discuss the 7 factors, the 7 things you need to take into consideration when thinking about owning versus renting, when thinking about buying a place for yourself or renting it. And I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm gonna dive into it right now. And the first thing you need to take into consideration, the first thing you need to think about is financial commitment. Your ability to commit financially to the place you're gonna end up living in. For example, owning and buying a place requires a much larger financial commitment than just renting someplace. I think that goes without saying, but when you buy a place to live in, whether it be a condo, townhome, a house, you're probably gonna need some sort of mortgage. And most mortgages these days require some sort of down payment. So if you're buying a home for about $200,000 and your down payment might be 5, 10, or even 20% of the cost of the home, well, that's a pretty substantial upfront cost. That's a pretty substantial down payment you need to make up front. And that's gonna require a fairly large financial commitment from you. On top of the down payment, there are other costs associated with acquiring a home and a mortgage, such as closing costs, which can cost you another few $1,000s. And then finally, while you own the home, you're still gonna have to pay county or city taxes, home insurance, and if you live in an area with a homeowners association, you'll have to pay homeowners association fees. So needless to say, buying and owning a home does require a more substantial financial commitment from you. But on the other hand, renting a home does not. For the most part, landlords might require a security deposit when you first move in, and they also might require your first and last month's rent while moving in. But aside from that, there is basically no other financial commitment you need to make. There might be some sort of application fee when you apply to live somewhere, but needless to say, the financial commitment required of you when you rent a place is much lower compared to buying and owning a place. All right, the second thing to think about are the financial benefits of buying and owning a home versus renting. And this is where the financial commitments of buying a home might actually pay off for you. There are several financial benefits to buying and owning a home. For example, when owning a home, you're essentially owning an asset that might appreciate in value over time. So any increase in the value of the home that you own can lead to an increase in your personal wealth, in your net worth. In addition, as you pay down the mortgage, you also build up equity in the home that you own, which also leads to an increase in personal wealth. And finally, there are some other financial benefits when owning your own place. One of them that comes to mind are the tax deductions that you may be able to take advantage of when paying down your mortgage. Simply put, the interest you pay on your mortgage is tax deductible. So you may be able to see some pretty cool financial benefits by buying and owning your own place. When renting, on the other hand, well, there are very few financial implications to speak of. You may see your rent increase over time, but essentially that's it. So there aren't that many financial incentives and benefits of renting a place. That doesn't necessarily mean that renting is a bad move. It could be the smart move, but just keep in mind that there are probably fewer financial incentives and benefits when renting a place. All right, the third thing to keep in mind is maintenance and personalization. The responsibility of maintaining the place you live in and the ability to customize it and personalize it the way you like. And I think this goes without saying, but when owning a place, when owning a home, you're responsible for all maintenance that needs to be done to the property. There are some exceptions to that rule, especially if you live in an area with a homeowners association. Some maintenance might be the responsibility of the homeowners association, but for the most part, you are responsible for maintaining the home that you live in, for repairing things yourself, or to hire someone to repair something for you. All that time and all those costs are completely on you. However, you're also free to customize and personalize a space the way you like. So if you want to repaint the walls, tear down a wall, or expand your living space, you're pretty much free to do so. You can customize and personalize your living space as much as you'd like. Now, on the flip side, when renting a place, the landlord is essentially responsible for all the maintenance that needs to be done to the property. Unless you were responsible for breaking something in the property, all routine maintenance is essentially the responsibility of the landlord. So you don't have to waste time finding someone to fix whatever needs to be fixed. You don't have to waste time fixing something yourself, and you don't have to pay out of your own pocket to repair or maintain whatever needs to be repaired. That all falls on the landlord. However, you're unlikely going to be able to customize and personalize the space to the way you'd like. Even doing something as simple as repainting the walls isn't really something you're allowed to do unless you get the landlord's permission. So your ability to personalize your own space is much more limited when renting a place. All right, I got a few more points I want to bring up, but before I do so, I want to let you know that whether you've seen my content before or if this is the first time viewing one of my videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every single time I come out with other great and similar content. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and smash that like button. YouTube loves it when people like my videos. It helps with the algorithm. And by the way, I'm also on Instagram, so feel free to follow me there as well. All right, the fourth thing I want to bring up is mobility, the freedom you have to move around. And because the process of buying and owning a home can be pretty lengthy, it doesn't just require a financial commitment, it also requires a time commitment. And of course, if you need to sell the home, that's another commitment you need to make. Buying a home may be more advantageous if you intend on living in a particular area for a pretty lengthy period of time. When buying and owning a home, you're essentially putting down your roots in a particular neighborhood or particular city. Whereas when renting, you're pretty much free to move around and live anywhere you want once the lease expires. So much like how buying and owning a home requires a financial commitment, it also entails making a commitment to a particular area. Whereas with renting, you're not making that much of a commitment to that area. There's no financial implications involved. So you are pretty much free to move around once the lease expires. If you're in a particular line of work that requires you to move around every once in a while, renting might be the best option for you. On the other hand, if you've made the decision to settle in a particular area, owning a place might be a good idea. It really just depends on where you're at in your life. And that leads pretty nicely to my next point, which is career stability. I do think that's another thing to think about when deciding between owning and renting a place. Long story short, buying and owning a place might be better for you if you have a secure, reliable job where you have a stable and predictable income coming in for the foreseeable future. That's just because you're on the hook to pay the mortgage every single month. And paying the mortgage is gonna be pretty difficult if you have an unpredictable source of income or if you envision not working in the near future. And in the event circumstances with your income and your job changes, getting rid of your mortgage isn't that easy. On the other hand, if you're renting somewhere and for whatever reason, you lose your job, or if your source of income becomes a little bit less predictable, you can always just move out of the place you live in and find a place that is better suited for your career once the lease expires. If, for example, your career is taking a nosedive and you need to find a cheaper place, well, the good news is your lease is expiring in a few months and you'll be able to pack up and move somewhere where the rent is cheaper. Of course, on the other hand, if you do foresee some positive movement in your career, you can upgrade and rent at a more luxurious spot. All right, the sixth thing to think about is time commitment. And in essence, you might want to think about whether you have the time to commit to all the responsibility that's involved in owning a home. For example, if things were to break down, do you have the time to call a repairman or maybe to fix things yourself? Do you have the time to go looking for a place that you want to live in? And then of course, meeting up with lenders, finding the mortgage that best fits your financial needs. There is more of a time commitment you need to make when buying a home and when living in a home. And that time commitment just doesn't really exist when renting, namely because you have fewer responsibilities when it comes to maintaining and repairing. And the seventh and last thing you might want to take into consideration is the importance of sense of ownership, the importance of belonging somewhere. Are you the type of person that really wants to feel at home in the place that you live in? Do you want to feel like that place is completely yours? Does that matter to you? Do you want to have that sense of ownership, that sense of belonging to a particular place? Because if you do, you might want to buy or own your own place. If not, if you don't feel like you need to own the place you live in, well then renting might be appropriate. It's something to think about. I know a lot of people have spoken about the need or the desire to own the place they live in, and it's something you might want to think about as well when deciding between buying a place and renting a place. What do you guys think? Is there anything I might have missed in this list? What are some of the things that led you to either rent or buy the place that you live in? Please let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And like I mentioned earlier, guys, whether you've seen my content before or if this is the first time viewing one of my videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every single time I come out with other great and similar content. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and smash that like button. YouTube loves it when people like my videos. It helps the channel a lot. And by the way, I'm also on Instagram, so feel free to follow me there as well. Thanks everyone. Talk to you soon.